There will be a substantial reward for the one who finds the Millennium Falcon. You are free to use any methods necessary, but I want them alive. No disintegrations.
As you wish.
So, they talk about the spice mines of Kessel in Star Wars. Is this like they're mining cinnamon? There's a lot of bland cooking in Star Wars.
Ron, follow the money. Think about it. Think about it, Ron. Who needs the spice? Who makes the spice?
The Kessel people. The droids? The Wookiees.
The Kessel Run.
The Kessel Run.
Follow the Kessel Run.
Wait a minute.
Ron, think about
Are
it.
you saying that spice isn't spice? As we know it?
We'll meet later. Okay. No, don't stop. Let's keep going.
Alright.
So, that was a bit. And
it was awkward like usual.
and they just get better and better.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good time to introduce us as Delusions of Granular podcast.
Yeah.
And you can reach out to us with good bits you've written on your own at SWDOG77@gmail.com or...
Yeah. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/SWDOG. And...
Or reach out to us via Twitter with hashtag no more bits. At
SWDOG77.
yes, thank you, Ron. I couldn't remember that one.
Yeah. And if you like our bits, give us a review on iTunes. We're desperately looking for some reviews on iTunes.
We really need some attention.
Yeah. So, welcome to another episode of SWDOG. We're going to talk about more of the underbelly of Star Wars this time around.
Dirty Star Wars.
The dirty Star Wars. We're going to get dirty this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, we brought up spice immediately. Spice
Right.
is one of the things that always, even as I was a kid, drawn to what is this thing called spice? Why is it such a dangerous Kessel Run and being sent to the spice mines of Kessel?
It's funny, I never questioned as a kid. I was just like, oh, it's like, in the Bible, like frankincense and myrrh, it's rare spices, right?
It's not. It's
No.
drugs.
Yeah.
It's drugs.
You were the first person that told me that. I think I'm age 27 at the time you told me that. I was like, oh my god.
It's drugs.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
he's a smuggler.
He's a smuggler.
He being Han. So.
Yes. Doing illegal business for
there's
gangsters.
hidden cargo holds, running spice, the Kessel Run.
Yeah. He owes Jabba money, and it's not because of cinnamon.
No, it's because he lost a whole ship
He
full
dumped.
of...
He dumped a shipment of spice.
Yeah.
So in this PG-rated movie,
Right.
in the first 5 minutes of the movie, 3PO is complaining or worried about being sent to the spice mines of Kessel, smashed into who knows what.
Right.
Like
right.
immediately, they're like throwing out spice.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, this is where, Lucas leaves the calling card for Dune right there. Spice is it's the thing.
Well, yeah, you schooled me on that. I
Oh.
didn't know that spice came from.
It's all
the
about
concept
the
of spice came from Dune.
Yes.
So
yeah.
does Lucas get So he basically just ripped off. Was it Frank Herbert wrote Dune?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't call that one ripping off just because spice is spice is a very definite thing in that universe,
Right.
and it's not in Star Wars. We tried to look up Wikipedia today. What is spice?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We couldn't really make heads or tails out of it on Wikipedia, but I mean, it's been kind of established in the EU Legends universe that spice is a drug.
Right.
It's
glitter stem.
Yeah, glitter stem or giggle, whatever. It's
horrible.
just stupid sci-fi names, but yeah. So there's drug deals going on in Star Wars.
Right.
Clearly, drug deals, and drugs are being mined on Kessel
Mm-hmm.
by the other, like, crazy thing in Star Wars that you wouldn't think is mentioned in a PG movie, by slaves.
Oh, right.
Right? Like, they have slaves in Star Wars. Like, clearly there's slaves.
I thought you were talking about the Twi'lek dancers.
No, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But, yeah, so there's slaves, there's drugs. Like, this isn't PG, right? Like, rated content.
Well, it's parental guidance, some parents are, some kids can handle it. Some kids can handle hard drugs and strippers and what have you.
Right.
And slavery.
Right. But, alright, so, I guess the slaves, like, 3PO's worried about being sent to the spice mines at Kessel. He doesn't really...
As opposed to what, though?
Yeah, I don't...
Like, that's the thing, it's like, as opposed to this horrible existence where you're, like, being blown apart anyway and being chased across the galaxy?
Yeah.
All he wants to do is set a table.
And is that, like, that's how they're mining drugs on Kessel? Is
with
by
prissy droids?
By smashing them to bits?
Yeah, well, we basically throw droids at them.
Yeah, that's how we use the droids as pickaxes.
Yeah. Backwards people, Kessel.
Yeah. But there's definitely slavery in Star Wars, and we get to that. It's in our face in The Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin, we find out, is a slave.
This is like a reoccurring theme in our podcast, is bringing up the, like, oblique references to slavery in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. That must be, like, a thing. Like, we must not be the only ones, right? They're going to have to address that a little more full-on, right?
I would think so. I was...
Like, the new movies are going to have to.
Yeah,
right?
I would think that... Well, like... They never free the slaves, do they? Like...
Oh, yeah.
Like...
Well, what do you mean by free the slaves?
Well, Qui-Gon shows up, and he's like, we need parts for our ship. And they're like, oh, well, we're slaves. We can't help you. He's like, well, I still need parts for my ship.
Well, that was in the old days, Ron. That was in the old days. They didn't know better back then. It's a societal issue. In the new era, I'm sure it'll be all different.
So, are you saying that if there were black slaves on Tatooine, it would have been more of an issue?
Well, I'm saying it's more like, you gotta remember, this is back in the day with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's kind of like your lovable grandpa. He's really nice, but he's a little He's a little racist.
Well,
a little prejudiced. He understands, in his mind, there's a hierarchy, and some people are freemen and some people are slaves.
He's like the Thomas Jefferson of
that's who Qui-Gon is.
But I thought as I was thinking about this episode and that we were going to be talking about slaves in Star Wars, I thought it was kind of very Lucas tackling a delicate subject by not actually having any of the slaves be black. Like,
wait. Wouldn't that be the opposite of tackling a delicate subject?
Well, he didn't. He avoided the delicate. He avoided it. Yes, he sidestepped it. Yes.
Yeah. Well done, Lucas.
Well done.
You avoided quite the quagmire. Now, I'm looking forward to that spin-off, 12 Years of Droid. That'll be an excellent film. But, so, the dirty side of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I was more thinking, I wasn't thinking we were going to get so much into racism as we were going to get into, the under...
We're getting around to that, sure.
Right, yeah. I mean,
I'm working my way to...
You're right. You're working from the outside, the systemic problems...
And I guess there was slavery going back to slaves in the original trilogy.
Yep.
Leia was a slave.
Leia was a slave?
Well, again, going by the merchandising is canon, the Leia in the metal bikini outfit was always referred to as Slave Leia.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, of course it was Slave Leia.
Yeah.
Slave Leia outfit,
right.
Yeah.
So she was a slave, but I don't know what she was doing other than lounging on
I want to spend a little time on that later on.
Okay. All right, but there was slaves.
The nooks and crannies of Jabba.
There was slaves. Well, again, merchandising is canon, I guess, right?
Totally, 100%.
So she was never referred to as a slave in the movie, but the action figure comes out and it's like, oh, Slave Leia.
And is that, you would know this better than I would, I think. Is that where we got the concept that Chewbacca was a slave? Or is that strictly just from the one line of, like, he doesn't like to be chained up or whatever?
Yeah.
Because nobody likes to be chained up. I've never been a slave, but I don't like to be chained up.
No, but it wasn't referred to in the movie, and I think I really need to go back to, like, the Bantha tracks, because I think that's where a lot of this, like, assumed information in Star Wars was brought to light.
I like the idea that we have, like, just like an archive file of, like, Bantha tracks. Like,
yeah,
I got to go back to the Bantha tracks. Get out the microfiche.
Get into the file. Dusting. I open a case and just blow off dust and cobwebs.
Oh man. So,
but I think that, like, that's where a lot of this information came from. Like, oh, Chewbacca was a slave, Han freedom.
Bantha tracks.
I think that's where a lot of this information came out.
That's interesting. Like, fandom kind of grew around the movie, made their own zine. Wait, who published Bantha tracks?
Lucasfilm.
Really?
I think so.
Interesting.
I think so.
There's probably going to be a Bantha tracks episode down the road.
Yeah, I think there has to be.
I think there has to be. Because that's an interesting thing, because if he made his own little... PR arm, essentially.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Huh. And is there a handoff, then, between Bantha Tracks and Star Wars Insider?
I think there is. In the archives I was going through, the later issues of Bantha Tracks did start to look a little bit more like Star Wars Insider.
Yeah.
Although it's still not a full-blown magazine, but it definitely started to feel like...
Because that was my thing, is like, Star Wars Insider feels very Lucasfilm. Feels very, like, corporate hand behind it. But Bantha Tracks I've looked very zine. Like, very, like...
Yeah, that's how things were done back then.
Kind of like early... do you ever read that magazine, Video Watchdog?
No.
Oh, God, it's still being published. It's a pleasure of mine.
Well, I think the other thing was StarLog.
Yes,
I think a lot of information
StarLog
came
made
up.
the switch at some point.
Yeah, I think a lot of those were... what did it make the switch to?
Well, I mean, it made the switch to, like, being like in Barnes & Noble and stuff.
Okay. But I think a lot of information came out in StarLog, too. Mm-hmm. I don't have archives of StarLog, but working on it.
We'll get those.
So I think that's where, like, you found out about all this other information that was going on, like, you know, that Han was in the Imperial Army. And, you know, there was stuff that Lucas was just kind of throwing out there because he had these ideas.
We're getting way off topic, but like, were certain stories like kind of serialized in Bantha Tracks or like previewed?
Nope, not at all.
No,
it was all stories? No. It was always just interviews. Like, the main story was always just the cover feature. These are like 4-page.
So these are like an interview with George Lucas, and he's like, "Well, Chewbacca was a slave."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, these are like 4-page newsletters.
Yeah.
You know, that like opened up, like they folded once and then folded up again, so it was like ended up being like a broadsheet. Mm-hmm. And it was just like the main article was an interview, and then the other one was like, here's some fan art.
Yeah, I love zines.
I mean, it was so, it was like, I mean, like the second or third issue is like, we're having a contest. Name our newsletter. And somebody one of the fans came up with Bantha Tracks.
Love it, dude. I have like a small collection of old horror zines.
Yeah.
And they're just so cool. It's like pasted up pictures, hand typeset,
right.
mimeograph stuff.
Right.
It's great. Anyhow.
All right, so I'm trying to guide us into the underworld here. So we get to Return of the Jedi, and we have slaves in Return of the Jedi by Leia and the other dancers.
Right.
At this
clearly slaves. I mean, they throw that poor girl in the pit.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get to the main the main underworld boss now in Return of the Jedi. We get to
the Don Corleone of the franchise.
Jabba the Hutt. So now we get to see, like, here's the boss. Here's who the bounty hunters are working for.
And this is like a really cool. I mean, although Gen 1 fan, you were there.
Mm-hmm.
How cool was it for you? Because I feel like I was familiar with Jabba before even seeing the film.
Because he was mentioned in Empire.
Oh yeah, he's mentioned in the first movie. He's mentioned in the shootout with.
Okay, yeah, that's where he's mentioned.
Yeah, but I think I was already familiar with him just because of merchandising, and culture, and
right.
Jabba the Hutt's
right.
Everyone knows who he is.
He was nobody knew nobody knew what he was going to look like.
See, but in my generation, we all kind of did because Muppet Babies and stuff made jokes about it. Jabba the Hutt was kind of a cultural figure,
right?
So for
me, it was
Jedi,
we always just thought that Jabba was just some guy.
Was it now? Was your reaction? Oh, that's so badass, or was it? Okay, so he's a big slug thing?
No, it was badass. Because it was you'd never seen somebody like that on screen before.
Yeah. And that's also a Dune reference, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a big man slug
yeah.
is a total Dune thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the underworld is basically run by the Hutts.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that they are the
Hutts are a race of slugs that
Sicilian
are just
mafia.
gangsters. Yeah. Just totally ripping off of big Sicilian gangsters.
Going canon, I mean, they like the Sicilian mafia. There's a whole family.
Yeah.
The Hutts are a family. In Clone Wars, we, for better or worse, get to meet Zero and the other Hutts.
Right, Zero, which was the Truman Capote Hutt in Clone Wars.
Yes, a lot of people hate Zero and hate the other Hutts. I personally don't. I enjoyed all that. I thought it was very silly, but very fun.
Well, here's why
I'm a big Hutt fan.
Yeah, I didn't mind them as much as what I did mind the Clone Wars doing to another character that was in the original trilogy.
Who's that?
The singer in the band at Jabba's
Oh, you didn't
palace.
Like her being the mole?
Mole, they pretty much made her into a bounty hunter.
Oh, when she yeah. Spoilers. When she flips on Zero and stuff?
Yeah, I'm like, she's just a dancer, or a singer. Just leave her as an entertainer.
Well, here's my
thing. But they made her into something else.
Is that the same woman, though?
I think so. SWDOG, I think is her name. Yeah, I pulled that one out of there. Well, that's merchandising for you.
Yeah, there you go.
The only time they ever mention it.
Well done.
On the action figure.
I didn't mind that. I liked it. I thought it was funny. And also, because she always did have a little sassiness to her song, too.
Right.
Because she wasn't a dancer, she's a singer.
She was a singer.
Yeah. She sings that sassy song that it sounds very, kind of current, I remember thinking. It's I can't do the song.
I can't even hear it anymore because the special editions... Yeah, but the special editions erase that.
Oh, yeah.
And they put that other singer in there. And it's much
if there's
more...
one special
That's
edition,
the one thing that I could do without.
Why? That's the only thing is, that's one or two things I could do without, because I also wouldn't have taken out the Ewok song. I liked the music in Jedi. I didn't think it was shameful at all.
I didn't mind it. I don't miss it.
If you're going to point out the most shameful, special edition edit, I mean, it's that, when the camera follows the spittle, to the, the singer, he opens his mouth,
yeah, that's bad.
But although, you know what, on the other side, I can rationalize it because, the camera you see the camera actually move in a 360 for the first time, and you've been seeing that the whole time in the prequels, so it kind of glues it all together.
Right, sure. So
I take and I give.
So we have the underworld defined by the Hutts.
Yes.
And they're hiring the bounty hunters out, and the bounty hunters are a big part of the underworld.
Yeah. And the Hutts also are resistant force. Can't mind trick them.
Is it all of them or just Jabba?
Well, I can't count extended universe stuff, but I can't remember if Zero... Does Zero talk about it? Does Zero have a resistance to force things? I feel like he does.
Yeah, maybe it is a Hutt thing.
I think it's a Hutt thing. I think it's a whole species. It's a reptile brain thing.
Right. So they're resistant to the force. They're hiring all these assassins and mercenaries and bounty hunters, and my question to you...
And talent. Singers, dancers.
My question to you is,
on.
why is this happening?
What do you mean?
Well...
Oh, I know what you... Okay, go on.
There's a government involved.
For a second, I thought it was very existential.
No.
Why is all of this happening? Why are we watching this? Why are we doing a podcast about this show?
No, that's other people ask me that.
Right.
I don't ask myself that. But I think this.
Why are they doing this?
Yes. Why is this a big part of Star Wars? Star Wars is, if you break down like the parts of Star Wars.
Yes.
You have the Empire, which is the evil, all-controlling government. Then you have the Rebellion, who's trying to overthrow that government.
Right.
And then you have the underworld, which is the drug dealers and the gangsters and the bounty hunters. And why is that such a big part of Star Wars?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Ron, because this is something the weird thing about Star Wars is when you start thinking about the politics of Star Wars and start thinking about how it actually functions, at first glance, it's okay. Then you start looking a little deeper, and you're like, wait, who was the Techno-Union again? And then it starts to kind of fall apart for you. But then, if you go deeper and you start making a podcast about it, you can start really making all sense of it all.
You mean Granular?
Yeah, thank you. Because one thing we didn't mention, though, is the Outer Rim, which they talk about in in the whole thing. That's the...
They talk about... I mean, they basically mention it in Star Wars.
Yeah,
like Tatooine is... Yeah, Tatooine is...
Outer Rim.
If there's a center of the universe, this is the blah, 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 furthest from.
Yes. Yeah, I love that quote. But, so that's outside the control of the Republic and only sort of vaguely under control of the Empire, right? Like in the prequels, it's out of the realm of the Republic.
Well, it doesn't seem like the Empire is there until the droids escape. They use the escape pod and land there. It doesn't seem like the Empire is really on Tatooine until they're following the droids.
The furthest reaches of the Empire.
Right.
They're not that interested in it.
Right.
And so, in these areas where there's essentially no government support, you can look at the real world to see how this would work. In places like Cold War Russia, or places where, the underworld reigns right now, like the cartels in Mexico and stuff. Sure. These places kind of become like the government, So, Jabba the Hutt isn't just a gangster in this area. He's kind of like the ruling class. So much to the point where, when in Return of the Jedi, he can stage a public execution and have a party of over 100 people. And, have everybody just watch as he's going to execute these people into a giant pit with teeth.
Right. Right.
With impunity. No worries.
Here's the thing. I think that, we're coming at this whole topic of dirty Star Wars in two different angles. Okay. So, and they're both legitimate angles, but you're coming at it as, the underground of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And I'm coming at it as all the things that are so, messed up in Star Wars.
Seedy.
Yeah, seedy in Star Wars.
Okay.
And it's not really ever, it's not a thing.
Okay. Right.
Yes, there's, a public execution in Return of the Jedi, and it's like a party. Yeah. And if you think about it, it's this is a public execution. Yeah.
That video.
Right. I was thinking about, one of, my favorite moments in Star Wars is in Empire Strikes Back, is the end when they're, they're on Cloud City and they're taking Han, and they're going to put him in carbonite, right? Uh-huh. And I think, how messed up this is. Vader, you are a complete asshole. You are going to take this one guy who is obviously friends with these other people, right? Right. And they're going to freeze him. Freeze him to death, possibly, right? Man,
this example you're choosing is going to derail us so hard.
And I'm going to make all your friends watch.
Right.
How messed up is that? That is... And I'm watching it as, a 10-year-old kid, and I'm like, this is fun. But as a, 30 years later... in peril, 30-some years later, I was like, this is fucked up.
Now...
And it's still fun.
Oh, yeah, of course,
it's
got some of the best moments of the whole thing.
Right.
You know what more always sticks out for me in that? Huh. It's when Boba Fett goes to shoot. Yes. And Darth Vader knocks the gun out of the way.
Oh, yes. This is another moment. And I mentioned this, I think, last week, maybe the week before. I told you that my uncle and I are Star Wars fans, and that we watch these movies over and over again. Sure. That moment is a moment of contention for us.
How so?
I don't know. We just have varying opinions on why that scene happens, why that not even 10 seconds of screen time happens.
Like a second.
Yeah, it's like a second, and it'll be a showstopper for us. Like, hit stop on the DVD, turn off the movie. Like, we got to cool off.
So
like,
what's your position on it versus his?
That it's no big deal. Like, he just doesn't want to.
Oh, he's like, it's just whatever. And
yeah, it's just like... mine is that it's no big deal. My uncle like reads into it like it's some big like conspiracy thing.
Side, yeah,
well,
very much so.
We cannot watch Star Wars together.
I mean, see, like, here's the cool thing with canon. One of the there's so many ballsy things with the Clone Wars, as we've talked about, and as we'll continue to talk about. But one of the most ballsy was the episode where a young Anakin, not young as in little Annie, but Clone Wars era,
right?
Freezes himself in carbonite along with his friends to break into this prison thing.
Right.
And I remember I stopped right there and I was just like, ooh, because everything that they introduced anything new, I was like, does this break it for me?
Right.
Because I'm like, well, why would you test it on Han then? And then I was like, oh, it's not. He knows it's going to be fine, probably.
Sure, he's done it before.
Yeah, he's done it before. This is more just an emotional torture thing.
It is emotional torture.
And he's not trying to kill anybody at this point. And that's exemplified because he knocks the gun out of Boba's hand.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's like it's showing his true motivations in that scene. Like,
so I can watch this movie with my uncle.
Yeah, you and I just bridge the gap.
Oh, that's what we do here at SWDOG.
So I agree, though. Yeah, we're definitely coming out from two different angles.
We are,
have a very political,
but
angle,
I think they cross over.
Yes,
but
totally.
Another thing in Empire, as I was thinking about this episode, and I think this crosses over into how you're coming at this episode.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, 10-year-old Ron did not ever question it. 20-year-old Ron probably never questioned it. 40-year-old Ron is now questioning. I almost call myself Han. Why this happened in Empire, right?
Uh-huh.
So the Empire is all ruling. Like, they're vast. They're huge.
Yeah.
They build space stations that blow up other planets. They're huge, right? So why does Vader need to hire bounty hunters?
Exactly. Okay. So yeah, this is so good because the nice thing about our two approaches is I feel like what you're tackling is more symptomatic and mine's more systematic. Like,
yes.
So you're talking about things that are happening. I'm talking about the causes, maybe. So, for example, the Empire is, like you said, all powerful.
Yes.
They deal in black and white. They're binary.
Yes.
You know, like it's all about just control. And these systems in the outer rim area, they don't have as much control over, so they have to, by necessity, deal with the local quote unquote government, which would be the Hutts.
Right.
And the Hutts have their own way of dealing with stuff, which is bounty hunters. You know. Now, there's other explanations for Empire in particular. A lot of that goes back to the Clone Wars with Anakin's experience already with young Boba and what have you. And we might see more of that in Rebels.
Right.
But for right now, I'm running on the theory that, just politically speaking, the Empire has to, kind of deal with these, what would you call it, outside of the norm governments, like the Hutts.
Okay.
All
right.
Kind of like how in Cold War Russia, there were areas where the Mafia sort of dealt in a semi-official capacity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You keep going back to that idea of, like, when the government doesn't work, the underworld takes over and is the ruling power.
Well, like, that's the thing. When bread costs $100, you got to feed your family. You got to, someone is going to fill the vacuum of power, and they're going to supply the things that are needed in exchange for other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
very complicated idea to put in Star Wars.
Well, but I'm gonna open this up bigger.
Okay. Yeah, take it big.
Science fiction has been written about by many different people over the history of many years, right? But I think this is and correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be the first time where we're dealing with, like, issues where, a government that is going to rule not just a planet, but not just the solar system, but an entire galaxy, is inefficient.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, by default, it's inefficient.
Right, yeah, sure.
You know? Like, it cannot, like, the ultimate goal of, or the ultimate, like, the Empire is just ultimately set up to fail.
The more star systems they grasp, the more slip through their fingers.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, that's why in Star Wars, the underworld is such a big concept.
Totally.
Is because, like, Lucas kind of thought it out. Like, he thought it out as, like, okay, you know, you got the small rebellion who's trying to overthrow the big government,
right,
which is evil, but the big government can't control everything, and you're going to have all these little systems and everything that are going to have other types of ruling classes, and unfortunately, it leads to crime.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. And like I said, and unfortunately,
well,
I like the idea. This is kind of like this is sort of like our investigative reporting on Star Wars. It's sort of like our own personal war on spice. Like, the idea though that like that this kind of stuff can happen is, I mean, it's, you know, pulled from the headlines. It's happened in history. It's happening today. You know, like. I feel like the more, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting, you know, because I've gotten older, or if it's because we live in a post 9/11 world, or what, but I feel like the average viewer is just more aware of these things. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Nowadays?
I would think so.
But it's interesting to look back at 1977 and see that it was there then. You had the street level crime of Han Solo smuggling drugs.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And but you also have the more mafioso level of, you know, which Jabba the Hutt's referenced. You have hired killers. You have.
Well, I think this will be like, I'm guessing that we'll tackle this in another episode, but like how much did Lucas plan out? Like, did what we're talking about tonight? Did this stuff go through his head, or was it just all like instinct? Like, he just did he think about the idea of, well, a government can't control the entire universe, so you're going to have these splinters and you know,
or was it just naturally a thing where it's like, naturally we know that there's a mafia, we know that there's this and that, and like you just kind of write that stuff in naturally, you know?
But
well, it's like, because it's almost like, because he's kind of, I mean, once again, it's maybe something better to save for the George Lucas episode.
Right.
But I do love the idea that it's just like, well, he's just watching movies and kind of recycling that, and movies are kind of a distillation of... Well,
okay, so going back to the book that I'm reading, The Secret History of Star Wars,
I gotta read that book.
You have to read it. It's fascinating. If you're a Star Wars fan. If you're not a Star Wars fan, if you're not a Star Wars fan, I'm sure it's a dry read.
Yeah.
But like
a textbook for me. I can't.
It makes a very strong point of the fact that George Lucas wrote American Graffiti in 3 weeks. Okay.
Right. Based just kind of on his
personal experience. And then had this couple, I wish I remembered their name, who kind of touched up the script, made the dialogue a little bit more punchier.
They'll get an episode someday.
They'll get an episode, yeah. Like, I need to track down what these people have done. And then, you know, American Graffiti makes huge amounts of money and unexpectedly makes him rich. Okay.
Did it really? Was it a big movie?
It was bigger than it. You know, it was a low budget movie and it made a lot of money.
Oh, sure.
You know, so he was well off, not well enough to create the empire that he ends up creating with Star Wars, but he was well off enough that it ends up taking him 3 years to write Star Wars.
Something that always fascinates me about movie directors is that, like, certain guys, especially like you look at Terrence Malick or something, where it's like they take 10 years between movies or something. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Well,
10 years.
So he wrote American Graffiti 3 weeks. 3 years of agonizing pain to write Star Wars. Okay, And he ends up calling in that couple again to touch up on the dialogue, because he didn't write any of like all the great dialogue that we know.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't write any of that.
He just got high and jotted stuff down.
He just wrote the basic structure of, and it went through like 4 different drafts. So
Awesome.
The first draft is way different from what ended up.
Killer,
It's crazy, right? So that becomes a world phenomenon, right?
Sure.
Star Wars becomes a phenomenon. He doesn't realize, like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? Oh, well, I can do my sequels. Like, but he had thought of doing prior to this, but he didn't. He was going to make them into novels.
Right.
Right.
Really?
That's where Splinters of the Mind's Eye comes from.
Huh.
Okay.
I didn't know those were going to be novels.
He was planning on doing Splinters of the Mind's Eye as a sequel to Star Wars before Star Wars was released. Yeah, before it became a huge, massive success.
A lot of money. So
right. So once it becomes a huge success, he's like, well, I can do this as a movie. So the Splinter of the Mind's Eye is already being written.
Right.
And he's off like, well,
Alan Dean Foster.
Yes. Yeah. And Alan Dean Foster is, basically using Lucas's notes to create that novel. Okay. Meanwhile, Lucas is like, I'm going to go off and, I can make my movie now. Right? And him and Marsha and I think it was Steven Spielberg. Maybe it was somebody else.
Let's assume.
They go off to Mexico, right?
Yeah,
and this is great, right? They go to vacation in Mexico, and I swear this is like leading up to the big divorce. But like, everybody wants to go out and have fun on the beach. Lucas himself hauls himself up in the hotel room and writes Empire in like a weekend.
Oh, nice.
Right? Like a weekend.
Nice. Yeah.
So getting to the point that I'm trying to make, and back to what this episode is about, the dirty part of Star Wars. Like, so he's writing, he comes up with this whole idea of the underworld in Star Wars in a weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Right. Like, so sure. Yeah, he was talking about
because
there was no real economic reasons for this all happening.
We didn't really have like we kind of had hints of the underworld in A New Hope.
Yeah.
But the underworld comes into fruition in Empire. We get actual bounty hunters. We get actual, we realize that Han is actually, kind of a criminal.
Yeah. Totally.
Works for nefarious people.
Nefarious people, yes.
Yeah.
And and to get back to your thing about like why would the Empire hire bounty hunters? I was just thinking, like, because even though, like he said, I'm sure George Lucas didn't necessarily think this all through exactly, but
actually, let me bring that up. I forgot one key point here. Uh-huh. He hires Lee Brackett.
The Lee Brackett draft, yes.
Right? He hires Lee Brackett, who is
Lee Brackett a woman?
Lee Brackett is a woman.
Yes.
She wrote science fiction novels.
Right.
She also wrote movies. I believe she wrote some westerns, big movies. I wish I knew them off the top of my head.
I feel like I looked it up one day, but I didn't. Yeah.
I want to say she wrote like The Big Red One. Like, she wrote actual big, like, successful movies, screenplays.
Okay.
Right? But Lucas hires her because she wrote science fiction novels in like the 40s.
Oh, nice.
All right? And he doesn't realize who he's hiring until she's like, oh, are you hiring me because I wrote these movies? He's like, oh, you wrote those?
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
He's like, no, I'm hiring you because you wrote science fiction novels.
Well, yeah, we were talking about the woman who wrote The Big Sleep.
The Big Sleep. Yeah.
Rio Bravo.
The
Long Goodbye.
Okay.
That's a what's his name movie? The guy who did Popeye Altman movie.
Yep.
El Dorado, Rio Lobo.
Right. So she wrote like big John Wayne movies. The Big Sleep is what? Ingrid Bergman?
The Big Sleep is
Is that Humphrey Bogart?
Humphrey Bogart, yes.
Yeah, and Ingrid Bergman?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's right.
So he hires this woman to write the screenplay for Empire.
Lauren Bacall.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Tragically passed.
Yes. So he hires this woman to write the screenplay for Empire.
Right.
She turns in her draft, right?
She had all the magic shit, right?
Literally on her deathbed.
No shit.
Yeah, she died. Like, this is
no wonder
insane.
the Force is so funky.
This is so insane. Like, she dies in like March of, let's say, 79.
Sure, 2
right?
years after Star Wars. Yeah.
And in April of 79, Lucas has come up with that Darth Vader is Luke's son, or Darth Vader is Luke's dad, and all of these concepts that make the way into Empire. Like, and he comes up with it like instantly. This is a man who struggled for years to create the first Star Wars draft, and in a weekend, in Mexico, in a hotel room, he just nails it all. Nails it to the point where, like, the entire EU has been built off of this.
Mm-hmm.
Clone Wars is built off of this. Like, that was quite a vacation that he took in Mexico.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Maybe lost his wife.
Maybe
in the process,
probably lost his wife in the process.
Sure.
But
oh, what a sacrifice! What a hero! I just got absorbed into the Lee Brackett Wikipedia entry for a second, but getting back to the point at hand here, then.
Yeah.
So the underworld, the Empire hires bounty hunters, which makes sense from the standpoint of to win no prize. That the average stormtrooper probably, we see them trying to comb through Tatooine. They don't know what they're doing.
Right.
They stick out like a sore thumb.
Right.
The bounty hunters know all about the Outer Rim. So you hire specialists, is what you'd call them.
It's just it's an interesting concept that they just enter into this. And as a kid, I never thought of this stuff. I never thought well, why are they hiring these guys?
Sure.
Why can't they just do it themselves? They're efficient,
mm-hmm.
right? Aren't
right.
they?
Yeah.
10-year-old Ron, he doesn't think about this.
Too.
Yeah, 10-year-old Ron doesn't. We don't need those. We don't need their scum.
I might look at them all and be look at Boba and be we probably need him. Bosk. Yeah, he looks like he does some damage.
And the two robots.
Yeah, and I'll take IG-88, but then look at Dengar and it's
no, Dengar's got toilet paper on his head.
I bet Dengar was a situation where Boba or somebody was Dengar stays. Or I walk.
That's okay. So now that we're talking about that particular scene,
yeah.
I need to just I want to talk about that particular scene because just as my uncle and I have our own little things that can end the movie immediately. This seems to be a sticking point with fans.
Okay.
Vader says strictly
no
disintegrations to Boba Fett. And everyone makes a big deal about that line. They have a past, that Boba Fett has disintegrated somebody in the past, and Vader's telling him.
Yeah, right?
Why can't it just be a tossed off line?
Well, it's because it's a weird thing to say.
Well, he wants him. It's no.
It's weird for two reasons.
He's basically saying I want him alive.
Well, it's weird for two reasons. Number one, I don't think in the entirety of Star Wars we ever see anyone get disintegrated. Do we?
3PO.
No, it's not disintegrated.
Well,
he's blown apart.
Well,
disintegrated to me means your atoms are dispersed,
pulverized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do we see anybody get disintegrated? So to me, it's a funky line because it's I've never seen that before, and this guy apparently has the power to disintegrate.
Well, this is a topic for another episode, but I wanted to talk about how many actual deaths we see in Star Wars.
Right.
Right, but we'll get into that later because I think that's definitely fodder for another episode.
I mean, the closest I can think of disintegration is when Obi-Wan shoots Grievous. And that's just more of a heart explosion.
That's just a heart explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's it take to disintegrate someone?
What did Boba ever use to disintegrate something? And
thermal detonators.
Maybe it's more of a casual tone.
Maybe
you're right. Maybe
I think the line is just tossed off.
Vader
is just
he's just fresh off a meditation chamber bender, and he comes out and he's just And by the way, no disintegration. He's like trying to make a joke.
Yeah, Vader's trying to make. I like that a lot more. Vader's trying to be funny.
Yeah, it's like so. Everyone's being. It's a real tense moment. Clearly, everybody on the bridge is really weirded out by these freaks. And Vader's trying to make it relaxed. He's trying to be a good manager. He's caught a lot of flack. He's killed a lot of guys. He can feel the tension. And he's like, and by the way, no disintegration. Right? He's like that shitty boss.
Right.
He's like the David Brent.
He's like the David Brent of the Star Destroyer. That's a fan film I want to see.
Yeah. So regardless, they do hire
bounty hunters.
Bounty hunters in the Star Wars universe fill the role of mercenary, assassin, and bounty hunter interchangeably.
Well, not only that, I feel like almost everyone in the Star Wars universe ends up being a bounty hunter. Like, this goes back to my, oh yeah, of course, the singer in the Jabba's band. Yeah, of course she's a bounty hunter.
Was she a bounty hunter?
I
thought she was just a greedy mole.
I thought she ended up being a bounty hunter. Like, I feel like everyone's a bounty hunter. Either you pick there's only 3 career paths in Star Wars: Imperial, Jedi, or bounty hunter.
Did I ever tell you this?
Huh.
This is kind of embarrassing. A few months ago, I was visiting a friend in California, and my wife and him were all talking, and it was a very Star Wars filled day.
I think I know where you're going with this. Watched a bunch of
Star Wars, and they were like, "Okay, JP, well, would you choose if you could be a Sith or a Jedi? What would you choose?" And I was like, "Wow, I'd probably be a bounty hunter. One of those guys who kind of." Starting to get in that middle point of your career where you're wondering, I could have applied myself a bit more and been a Jedi, or could have really just gone evil and just been a Sith. Here I am, I'm making decent money, and they were just so mortified. They were just like, "Wow, JP, you're projecting so much onto this."
This has absolutely nothing to do with Star Wars.
Sure,
but when I was just out of college, kind of sitting at a bar drinking, kind of enjoying the world go by.
Yeah.
The internet had just kind of, come into play and was starting to be a big thing,
sure.
Right? And my friend was like, I was sitting there with my 2 friends, and one friend's like, you can actually become a minister online. You can actually just, fill out the paperwork and be a minister, and then you're actually able to marry people. You can marry people legally. You have the power to legally bind people together. Right?
Totally. Oh, I like that way you phrase it. Just bind them together from across the street.
The Star Wars, right?
You're bound.
My other friend, he's like, what else you can do online? Become a bounty hunter. And he did. He applied for bounty huntership, and it was like, yeah.
Right now he's a bounty hunter from that day?
Well, no, he's a graphic designer like me, but
also graphic designer / bounty hunter.
Exactly, which is the point I'm trying to make. Is everyone in the Star Wars universe is something / bounty hunter.
Yeah, I'm a Jedi.
Because they go to the the post office, they see the wanted posters, and they're like, oh yeah, I see that guy. I'm gonna bring that bounty in.
He gets drunk all the time. I bet I could just call him
right,
noggin.
Right. I mean, I'm a moisture farmer, but I could still bring a bounty in every once in a while.
Creds. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's very true. So seediness pervades everything in the Star Wars universe in that way.
Yes.
Yes. Anyone can be a bounty hunter or / assassin / merc. Because it is interchangeable, right?
They kind of make it interchangeable.
Yeah.
Right? They kind of okay, I guess this is where you and I have talked about this offline, but the whole idea of there's a Star Wars vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not guns, it's blasters.
Right.
It's not robots, it's droids.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's not mercenaries, it's bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't.
But sometimes they are bounty hunters. I think that Boba's actually acting as a bounty hunter in Empire, right? He's hunting for a bounty.
Well,
right?
He is. And from what we've seen in the 6 movies,
mm-hmm.
all of Clone Wars, right? That's all we've seen so far.
6 films, 6 seasons. 7? 6?
What?
How many seasons of Clone
Six
Wars?
six seasons of Clone Wars, 6 movies. The Sons of Dathomir,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And a New Dawn, the book, right?
Which I'm
all canon.
now 14 chapters into.
Oh, I'm almost done.
Oh,
Almost done.
it's pretty good.
So far, number of bounties actually brought in.
Right.
One.
One
So-
for Boba. That's why he's the greatest bounty hunter ever.
Greatest
He's
bounty
the
hunter.
only one who
He's
ever
the
did
only
it.
one who's managed to bring one person in.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Very true. Very true.
I mean, we don't even see it in Clone Wars, and Clone Wars is like hours and hours of canon.
Wow. So true. Because Cad Bane is technically a bounty hunter.
Cad Bane, well, I mean, yes, bounty hunter / mercenary / assassin.
I mean, this is, the reason Star Wars is so great is because it has all these universal themes in a less artificial way than Avatar.
Cad Bane is the Clint Eastwood
Yes.
analog in the Clone Wars.
Which just got me thinking, of course you could apply something like I earlier had said Cold War Russia.
Yeah.
Or you can apply something like the Wild West, where the Outer Rim is more like the West.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean that's certainly there. But getting back, it's funny. Now that I've realized that Lee Brackett wrote Rio Bravo and all these amazing westerns, it's like, well, yeah, there's definitely a big western thing throughout Star Wars.
Oh, sure. Well, Lucas always said that it was a western in space. He wanted that.
That's funny because that's the same pitch that Star Trek was.
Really?
Yeah, Star Trek was pitched to the network as being like a western show in space.
But it's so not a western in space.
Not at all. I think that was just the pitch. Gene
Yeah.
Roddenberry is a big huckster. He's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the Hutts. Oh, yeah, big one. It's funny, we talked about the Hutts because that's such a massive crime syndicate, but there's other crime syndicates.
There's other crime syndicates fighting for power, which is, we can thank Dave Filoni for this. It started out as EU, and he's pulled it into actually being canon.
And
so
this healed a pretty substantial wound for me. So.
Yeah, so we're talking about
the Black Sun.
the Black Sun Syndicate, which is run by in the EU, is Prince Caesar.
Caesar, yep, who is not in the Clone Wars yet.
But his race is.
His race, which was, who was the writer of Shadow of the Empire? I can't remember.
Steve Perry.
Really?
Yes.
Don't
Stop believing.
Yeah, the very same.
Not the same Steve Perry.
What a multi-talented man.
But yes, no. Steve Perry, the author, wrote Shadows.
And what I've read is that he wrote another series of science fiction novels that featured a race that also was reptilian and gave off a pheromone that attracted people to them. So,
well, all right.
Good for you, Steve Perry. Pull one over on everybody.
Yeah.
But
Dave Filoni made it canon.
Right, and this was a big thing for me because this was before the prequels or anything else. My first divide of Star Wars was Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shadows was sold to us, as I've said multiple times in this podcast, as being the first official new addition to canon. This happened. This wasn't, this was in between the movies.
Right.
It got a toy line, it got a video game, a whole thing, and then, never referenced again. Except in special editions or something, you see the Outlander.
Right. So we see, Outrider?
Outlander?
I think it's Outrider.
Okay.
Cool show.
Still better than Ghost, is the name.
Yeah, but
I love it.
it's growing on me. It's all growing on me.
It's all growing on me.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Rebels, that is.
Mm-hmm.
So Filoni brought in the idea that there's other crime syndicates. You have the Pikes, which are these very diamond-shaped head people.
That must be an EU thing, right? The Pikes.
I guess. I don't know where they came from, but yeah, they pulled them in, and they're very bizarre-looking characters, but they have really small faces, but kind of diamond-shaped heads.
Yeah, hard to figure out how their clothes go on, their shirts and stuff.
And then you have Black Sun, and this is I guess this all happened in the Clone Wars, right? So these crime syndicates were around.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And there were kind of, there were Hutts definitely in the Clone Wars. You had, Zero, and they show Jabba's Jabba shows up in the Clone Wars. Because it's his kid that gets kidnapped, right? So, I feel like what Filoni did was so the Clone Wars take place prior to, the original trilogy. They're going on during, between the two movies of the prequels.
Yep.
Right? There was that arc where Maul is resurrected, or found crazy, and he, is kind of brought back to sanity, I guess is more of the word.
Sure.
And he takes not so much the Hutts, because the Hutts, you can't really control the Hutts, but he takes Black Sun, he takes the Pikes, and he takes the Mandalores, which is a warmongering race.
Yes,
right.
Very much so.
And he unites them under his power. He basically kind of establishes the underground.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Keep going. I'm into it.
That's what I got when I
lost myself in the podcast. I was like, to get that more.
Right? But isn't that what he kind of did? Like, I felt like that's what that arc was in the Clone Wars, was like, here's a character that didn't get any respect in the Phantom Menace. We all thought, well, there's a badass character.
Yes.
He's got the horns, he's got the tattoos,
yes.
he's all dark
strong,
and red,
strong gay
and he's got
in Star Wars. Fine. Yes.
very strong, and he's very gay.
Yes.
And he gets supposedly killed right away by Obi-Wan. Right, cut in half. Right?
Yeah, cut in half. Yeah.
But we all know in Star Wars, cut in half, that means nothing.
No, it's the Force, Ron.
Yeah, you can keep going.
Have you not heard of the Force?
You've been cut in half? Like, that's not going to kill you.
You can hold your guts in with the Force.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
So the Clone Wars brings him back, and not only does it bring him back, like, I feel like Filoni is like, you know what, we're going to give this character some dignity and have him actually be responsible for establishing this underground.
That's really interesting, because I never thought of it.
I thought of that right away.
My thing was, I was going for no prize just on the fact that, like, so he gets the Mandalores there, and then he gets the Black Sun together, and these small-faced people, and the Hutts are somewhat involved, but it seems in a limited capacity.
Why? I think you just can't touch the Hutts.
Right, yeah, touch it too. I mean, they got the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
So he gets these crime syndicates that are involved more closer to Coruscant, to the core systems, and it gets them to go against the Emperor Palpatine, because essentially that's what his war is. It's a very direct one-on-one thing, ultimately.
Right.
But he gets all these organizations involved, and all these organizations that we never hear from again in the OT. And so my thing was just that, like, oh, well, that's why all these organizations we know about, that we know they exist, are just kind of gone later. It's because they stood against Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine wipes them out in that 15 years.
Or did they stand against the Hutts?
That's it. Who knows?
Maybe we'll find out on Rebels.
I think Rebels will answer that question more, but both reads, I think, are valid and very, interesting.
Yeah. So that's why I wasn't as disappointed with the Sons of Dathomir, because I thought, well, the Clone Wars did a good job of, kind of
actually
bringing a really good story element to Darth Maul's character. It's like, he's the one that kind of brought everything, brought the underworld together.
Darth Maul showing up
no, neither do I. But I think that it was an important character that they actually was like, hey, let's make this guy who's kind of not really a Sith, kind of floating out there, on his own, half crazy. Have him, with thoughts of revenge on his mind. So let's have him kind of create, and he brings the Mandalores into it, which we all know is Boba Fett's, armor.
Yeah.
It kind of tied the underworld up in a very good, unexpected origin story. I guess for me is the underworld.
Sure.
It's like, oh, Darth Maul kind of created the underworld.
Yeah, that's really good.
Tied it together.
I like that.
I like thinking of it that way.
I also just expecting unexpected origins. I remember getting so upset when we saw Little Kid Boba.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it first came out, when the movie came, when Attack of the Clones came out.
Yeah.
But like in retrospect, now after the Clone Wars and stuff, it's like it's a very interesting origin because he's really a man with no background,
right,
at all.
Right.
Like he's didn't really have a father.
It parallels Anakin's in a way.
Never had a mother. Period. Yeah, it's in reverse. Never had any order to follow.
Right. Right.
Weird.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
And that Boba movie.
Well, we're gonna get it. You know, we're gonna get
Certainly.
it. Yeah. So, any other thoughts about the underworld?
Well, we didn't really get to talk about the strippers.
Right.
The Twi'leks.
The Twi'leks. Yeah.
Yes.
The Twi'leks have been established in the Clone Wars as being kind of a slave race.
So the first Twi'lek we meet in front of the Jedi, the sexy dancer.
Nope. Not the first one. I correct you every time on this.
Oh, you always say it's the guy.
It's Bib Fortuna.
But he's only got one.
He's got one, but it's wrapped around his neck.
Twa to me means two.
All right, we're gonna
doesn't it?
keep going.
You have two leks, and the leks are the long fleshy things that come off their heads, right? twin leks.
I'm going to
you
look
Google
this
it,
up
you
really
find
quickly.
Out, but I don't buy the Bib.
I love Google.
Unless he's just maybe he's a freak.
I love
maybe.
Google. I only have to type in Bib 4 and it knows exactly.
It's like Bib 4 Twi'lek.
Yes, Bib Fortuna was a male Twi'lek, and he has two. Look at that picture. He has two, and they're just big and fat.
So he's just like an albino.
Yeah, he's kind of freaky.
White skin,
right?
Because they all have green skin. You know that.
They don't all have green skin.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I never.
They have different color skin.
What colors?
Oh, they have like purple and
purple.
Yeah.
Canon.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I stand corrected. So, okay. So we meet an albino freak Twi'lek. There's an albino freak Twi'lek who's a gatekeeper, and there's a stripper.
Canon. Look at that picture. Canon.
That does not look canon.
That is canon.
Where?
Jedi.
Yeah.
Blue skin.
Oh, blue. Sure. Blue Twi'lek from Jedi.
Purple. Green.
Okay, fair enough. And I believe the green Twi'lek, you can actually see her nipples in the CBS Fox videos.
Yes, that is true. I've never seen it.
I can verify. I saw something blurry as I freeze framed it. That might have been a nipple. It was very exciting.
That is actually true. I have not seen it, but I'm sure it's true.
Sure.
And look, these I think that's from Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah, there are two blue ones. Okay, fair enough. So there's different colored Twi'leks.
Yes.
But the first two we meet are very seedy. There's an albino gatekeeper, and there is a dancing stripper.
Dancing stripper.
And has there ever been a dancing stripper since, or are they all Jedi? Are they all powerful characters?
Wait, what?
Well, like, have there been any other stripper Twi'leks, or are all of them now Jedi? Like, all the other Twi'leks I've seen are like Jedi,
Are
powerful.
you saying...
I feel like there's a big knee-jerk reaction because there was a stripper Twi'lek
Well, okay.
Even though the Jedi ones even dress like strippers.
That's what I was going to say, is like...
Two pieces?
You've watched the Clone Wars. The Twi'lek Jedi, which I need to bring up her name, is...
Mon Mothma. Oh,
No.
sorry. So many years of only being two
there's more than
characters
two
that I
women.
can...
The Twi'lek Jedi is...
Yeah, try to pronounce that one. Here we go.
Ayla Secura.
Oh, Ayla Secura.
Ayla Secura. And Ayla Secura is a Jedi who basically is... she has large bosoms and is wearing basically...
sexy little two-piece yoga outfit.
Yeah, you always see her midriff, and she's always very bouncy. And
so what's up with that? Like, that's my thing. It's like, why go through the whole hassle of, like, being like, no, they're actually powerful women, and then also making them, like, but they still dress like strippers.
Yeah, well...
That's weird.
You have problems with the race of Twi'leks.
I do. I have a little bit of problems with the race.
I'm kind of seeing your problem just looking at these pictures.
Well, that's
almost
the
like,
issue.
Well,
is
yeah,
like,
they're kind of a slutty race.
You know, because I have a life, Ron. I have a life. I have a family. I have to go go to Thanksgiving dinner and what have you in a couple months and tell everybody what I've been up to. And it's like, oh, I'd make this Star Wars podcast, and it's very serious, and I gotta go through Star Wars and show people things like this.
This is what I talk about. Yeah.
Stripper Twillick.
She's
with
not a stripper.
lightsaber.
She's a Jedi.
Yeah. Well, by day,
Strong.
perhaps.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is something that kind of cheapens it a little bit for me. But I buy into it. Whatever. Sure.
Well, apparently the Twi'lek race has been enslaved for many years, and
so they just have kind of a so they're celebrating every day.
they have a low self-esteem of them.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. A lot of daddy issues in Twi'lek's world. Those flesh things in their heads, though. I mean, that was a big barrier for me with Ahsoka. Remember?
Yeah,
That was my final barrier. Like, I liked Ahsoka a lot, but then when I realized that her headpiece wasn't a headpiece, it was part of her body.
Part of her body. Yeah.
Really weirded me out.
Yeah. Well,
Still does kind of.
it's interesting.
You want to talk dirty Star Wars? That's the dirty Star Wars. Characters with head boobs. That's weird.
Head boobs. Is that what we're calling it?
I mean, I don't know. In the Star Wars universe, it's awfully odd. But
well, I guess it'll be interesting to see, like, what will we see another Ahsoka race in the sequels, or are they just going to completely for her race is she's a Togruta.
Oh yeah, those were the ones that were kind of the Swiss. They were neutral, and then they got enslaved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So will we? Like,
are there any left?
I hope so. I hope.
Well, I guess they freed them at the end, right?
I hope we see them in
They
although
won't let Ahsoka rest, dude. She's too
well,
beloved.
no, even if it's not Ahsoka, like, will we see that race again? Like, we're getting off topic, but like, are we going to see like races that were established in the prequels in the sequels? Like,
I think they have to, right?
Well,
because now the special editions, like, there's so many of that race put into the OT now. Those, not that race specifically, but those prequel races.
I don't think we've seen Ahsoka's race in
No.
in anything OT, like even special editions. I don't think that.
I can't picture.
There's the other, like, there's Ahsoka, and then there's. I'm gonna pull this one out of my ass.
And his ass is called Google.
Shock T.
Yes.
Is the older
Shakti.
Jedi.
That's the other thing is I don't
is
want
the same race as Ahsoka.
You know what sucks about Shakti is that's what Ahsoka looked like when she's older, supposedly.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, Pikachu. You know the Pokemon. You know how they evolve into another thing.
Okay, I'll take your word for that.
Okay, well, Pikachu evolves into another thing, and his next level is just not as well designed. It's not as cool of a design.
You don't think
look.
that's a good design?
No, I think it's gross. I don't like it.
Why?
Well, it's not a bad design. It's just not a fun character to watch.
That's racist.
There it is.
So is that picture.
Goodness. Oh my goodness. We gotta quit Googling these pictures of alien women in Star Wars. We're gonna end up on a list.
They always end up on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I don't know why.
So Dirty Star Wars. We covered the Hutts, covered the Black Sun, covered the little small-faced people we don't know anything about, covered spice in terms of we don't know where it comes from, what it is, what it does.
It's drugs.
Almost as mysterious as the Force.
It is drugs, though.
Bounty Hunters, Assassin, Mercs. We've covered the quote-unquote talent / singers, dancers.
Death Sticks. We didn't cover Death Sticks.
Death Sticks?
Yeah, in prequels. In the prequels.
What's a Death Stick?
Obi-Wan and Anakin go into the bar, and the guy from the Matrix comes up to him and is like, "Hey, you want to buy some Death Sticks?"
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's like, "You need to rethink your life."
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's like,
do a Death Stick.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
like,
cool
why
name.
would you want to do a Death Stick?
Cool name for a drug. Well, I mean, it's the same as in a cigarette. You call it a Death Stick.
What's Kevin Smith's brand of cigarettes they created for the View Askew universe?
God, I can't remember.
It's like coffin nails or something.
Something like that. I can't.
Why would you want to smoke something that's actually called death?
The But yeah, I mean, I am interested a little bit in the talent, just in terms of like how they secure them, what kind of background checks go on, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, not enough considering Zero gets turned on.
So is the
by
Cantina band involved in this? Like,
yeah, that's it. They have to hire musicians. Like it's
Right.
much like Frank Sinatra in Las Vegas. You know,
Sure.
it's all tied in. Like the Cantina band. I mean, who's also that requires saying that Darth Plagueis is actually canon, but the Cantina. Well, he is. But
Yes.
the book.
Oh.
Because there's another character in there who's from the Cantina band, the ones with the little like.
Yeah. Right.
Those guys. One of those guys is a Sith.
Oh.
Not one of the guys in the Cantina, but one of his race.
One of his race. The Biff.
Yeah, the Biff. Thank
He's
you.
a Biff
Thank
Sith.
you. There's a Biff Sith. That's right. So, so you know, take it around.
You know that the author was like, well, if I'm going to write this book, I want a Biff to be a Sith.
Here's the one, my one caveat on this thing, my one rider. So other things though, the Kessel Run.
Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
Yeah, so the Wikipedia, I'm just going to quote directly from Wikipedia if that's okay.
All right. Kessel Run is a big part of this because Kessel is where spice is mined.
Yeah.
That we all know that Han Solo has
they really lay it out for you. He's
made
a drug dealer.
he's made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, which is quicker or riskier than any other Kessel Run.
Right.
Right.
So the Wikipedia explanation of the Kessel Run is, and this is with the canon toggled on. So who knows where they sourced this? They listed it, but I didn't read it. The Kessel Run was an 18-parsec route used by smugglers to move glitter stem spice from Kessel to an area south of Ciklata Cluster without getting caught by the Imperial ships that were guarding the movement of spice from Kessel's mines.
So the Imperials they're actually regulating spice, they're outlawing it. Like,
well, are they outlawing it?
Well,
or are they more...
They're policing it.
Policing it, yeah. Is it more of a term where it's like, you can get it, but you gotta get it through us. You have to have glaucoma to get glitter stem.
Like, where does the Empire come in on this? Like, well, you know, like, we can blow up planets, but don't do drugs, kids.
Where's the Republic come in on this? How much is this drug money going into funding the rebellion?
Oh, all of it. All of it. Mon Mothma?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Little nose
big
candy.
Yeah,
big. She's
That's
doing
how she
some nose
stays
candy.
I mean, I just have to take 2 looks at Leia and Empire, and you can see glitter stem all over the place. I heard that she actually rolled a hole between the nasal cavities.
Nice.
No.
Nice. I think you're getting her mixed up with Carrie Fisher.
Oh, right. Her and Crosby Stills and Nash got...
Please don't sue us.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher, we love your work.
But yeah, so I mean that's interesting
Anything
thing.
else?
Also, Wikipedia's definition of spice from the canon toggle. This is one of those things too where if I just read their sources, I would love to know where they got it, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Spice was named for a type of illicit substance or substances in demand throughout the galaxy. Spice was mined at the spice mines of Kessel, where Wookiee slaves were worked to death.
Yes. Turning
medicinal spice mineral into a dangerous drug. Spice mines can be found on several other planetary systems throughout the galaxy, including Ryloth and Naboo.
Oh, yeah, right.
Naboo.
Okay, so Ryloth is the Twi'lek planet, I believe.
Right. Okay, we brought that back
that's
around.
where that comes around.
That's good.
All right, because that was clearly established in the Clone Wars.
Yes.
A few of the episodes were named after, the battle on Ryloth.
The stripper of Ryloth.
Stripper.
Yes.
Whore of Ryloth.
You Rylothian whore.
But Naboo,
Naboo, home planet to none other than Emperor Palpatine and...
Wait.
Ooh, once again I'm bringing my Darth Plagueis knowledge. Ouch.
Is that true? Is that his home planet?
He is a representative of Naboo.
That doesn't mean
But he's not necessarily his home planet, you're right.
we don't know that to be true, do we?
No, we don't.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
But it is the home planet of Jar Jar.
Who might have been referenced in the Clone Wars?
I don't know if it was or not.
I don't know either. I don't think so.
But Jar
you know
Jar.
what?
Jar Jar is definitely...
Any of our listeners could certainly tell us if they would just email us at swdog77@gmail.com.
Yeah. Because right now, folks, you're making us look like we know everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that everything we're saying is accurate.
But Jar Jar is he comes from Naboo.
Oh, yes. Yeah, one of the most important characters.
Right.
Yeah.
So does Captain Tarples.
Captain Tarples. That would be the one with the eye patch?
No, that's the one with the mustache.
Captain Tarples. Not picturing him.
Yeah. He looks like Jar Jar, just has a bigger mustache.
Oh, Captain Tarples, of course. Yes, the mustache, yes. I was picturing humanoid characters.
Oh, no.
By accident.
Wait, there's humans on Naboo?
Yeah, well, there's about 5.
Oh, okay. Because I'm thinking there's Boss Nass, there's Captain Tarples, there's Jar Jar. The important characters in the Star Wars trilogy. In Saga.
I'm biting my lip because I wanted to ask you a character, but I don't want to derail us. Anyhow.
Who else? Oh, I guess there are. Oh, Padme.
Yeah. Well, there's
Padme.
Well, there's Padme. There's Padme's Imperial Guard, the black dude. There's
Captain Purples.
What's the name of
Tycho.
There's a great name for the guy who
Captain
is
Tycho.
the mayor or whatever with the big goatee thing.
Oh yeah,
He's got a great name.
Yeah, he does have a.
It's almost as good as Bib Fortuna. It's like such a fun
Sifo Bibble.
Sifo Bibble. Yes.
Again, merchandising doesn't let you down.
Oh, that's good.
Such an awful character.
So, I mean, I don't know if we connected all the webs, but I think we talked about the systematic issues, such as the Empire having to deal with these third parties, etc., and how those parties get their power.
Yes.
We talked about the more societal issues, such as poor Twi'lek girls being forced to dance for Jabba.
Yes. What is he doing with
public
those girls besides having them dance?
Good point. We didn't cover that.
We didn't.
What was he going to do with Princess Leia?
I don't know. Why?
He's got a bunch of nooks and crannies on him.
Why is
Was he going to eat her?
I don't.
With that metal bikini?
Was
he just going to put her inside him?
I don't know. Do we want to think about
that's
this?
Horrible.
It's so horrible.
It's ugh.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. She's like a human butt plug. That's is that where it's going to go?
This is totally fan art. I'm not even going to go.
The death rattle is what sends him over the edge.
I saw fan art, and it's a picture of Han and Leia on the Falcon.
Okay.
Immediately after they leave Tatooine, after the sail barge blows up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now Han still has blindness from the carbon sickness. Right. And you see Leia she's this is totally fan art, right?
Right.
But you see Leia still got the bikini on, right? And he's like, "This is what I've been missing," because he hasn't seen her at all, and he's in love with her,
right?
And he's finally his eyes start to get better, and he's she's in a bikini and all hot looking, and
right.
It's the whole point of the thing is he missed out on all of this.
Sure. He's so I missed out on the 15 minutes where you were in a bikini the whole movie?
Right.
Gotcha. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, so I don't even want to go there. What was he going to do with her?
Disgusting. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's also just a physical element to Jabba where I've always been curious about. Just how does he keep control? As a the thing is, it's unlike Don Corleone, who was once a young athletic man who could run around and kill people.
Sure.
Theoretically,
yeah, we don't know how
he
kills people. Slug. Yeah, he was a big fat slug when he was inserted into New Hope. He was a big fat slug when he was in the Phantom Menace. So this is Phantom Menace that proves that he was a big fat slug for
30 years.
Yeah,
and so
but he moved around in the Phantom Menace. You see him kind of slithering across the floor.
I hate that.
Really? I like to see him move.
I don't like him moving like that.
I like to see him move.
I like him on a pedestal on the thing.
See, I'm okay with seeing him move. Now that when I watch Jedi, I'm like, well, how come he's not moving?
I mean, I would be okay with seeing him move if they pulled a Yoda, where it turned out he was really dexterous, where it's he rolls, really dangerous like that.
Well, will you ever see a Hutt Jedi?
Huh.
Oh,
No.
They have no force powers.
Yeah, no force powers. Yeah, they can't even use the force on them. They're so stupid.
Yeah,
the
but
reptilian brain.
somebody.
They must be like.
Why is not somebody written about this?
It must be like the Kingpin though, where like if you get in his grasp.
Kingpin from
Marvel.
Yeah.
If you get in his grasp, he can kill you. But like,
he has such tiny arms.
But
though.
how
he
he
has like T-Rex arms.
I could roll over on you. What really is dangerous though is his brain, and the reason he's always at top is because he's smarter than everybody. And he's literally just playing everyone against each other. It's like, I know that you would kill me if you got the chance, but little do you know, I have another little guy that I keep in a crevasse on my body that jumps out.
I would like to believe that.
Because that's a relationship I'm more curious about, actually. Than him and Princess Leia is him and that little
Salacious Crumb.
I
would like to believe that he is outsmarting everybody in the room.
Yeah.
That has not been proven in any canon or EU.
It requires a very smart writer to make that.
They have not proven that the Hutts are actually smart.
No, they have not.
At all.
Zero had a certain way about him. So at the end of it all, Ron.
Yes.
I'm going to point at you. Sum it all up for us.
So I think that they could make an R-rated Star Wars movie with what we've talked about today. We have strippers, we have dancers, we have slaves, we have drugs, we have smugglers, we have drug dealers, we have...
You could almost just re-edit some of these movies and make them R-rated.
Yeah, I think that there's a way. Like, there's R-rated...
Put that nipple shot back in, Jedi.
Right. And there was the fat one that had, like, 6 nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was she the nipple shot?
No, they're talking about the other one.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah. So, yeah.
The blurry video footage I was freeze-framing when I was 12.
So...
I convinced myself I saw it.
It's there, apparently. Blu-rays.
We need Laserdisc, actually.
Well, I would
CBS
guess.
Fox version.
I think...
They took it out for THX.
Did they?
That was
did
one of the
they
big
cut
edits.
it out?
That was supposed to be one of the big edits. That's
Really?
how I learned about it.
They cut the nipple out?
That's how I learned about it, yeah. Yeah. They were just cut the nipples off.
So
the dirty Star Wars.
Yeah, the dirty Star Wars. So I think I don't know where to sum this up, but I think that there's an R-rated movie in Star Wars somewhere that
we've all seen.
That we've all actually seen.
And absorbed in our subconscious.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, because we were kids, we didn't really think about what they were saying and talking about, but it's there.
It's all there.
It's all there. There's torture, and there's violence, and there's death, and there's drugs, and there's...
strippers, and it's horrible.
And species sex.
Yeah.
Interspecies sex.
Maybe that was George Lucas being progressive. Who knows?
Yes. All right, well, what do you think?
What do I think about...
Dirty Star Wars.
Dirty Star Wars. Well,
sum it up.
I think it's the way of the future. I think J.J. Abrams is going to really embrace the dirty side of Star Wars, and we're going to see probably the raunchiest Star Wars we've ever seen.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. I don't think it's going to happen with this one. Maybe with Rian Johnson.
Someone will do it. Someone will bring the dirt back in. I mean, someone's going to have to cover what spice is.
Yeah.
So it'll happen, right?
Yeah.
Or Death Sticks.
Yeah, I think we can leave Death Sticks alone.
No way, man. That is my number one caveat with all the new movies is that like you have to carry everything embarrassing from the prequels. Wizard has to be there. Death Sticks has to be there. You know, Jar Jar's race, the whole 9 yards. Gungans.
Nice.
Gungans.
All right. I think that's all. We got everything out of the way today.
All except for one more thing. Don't forget to leave us an iTunes review.
We're really pushing the iTunes reviews.
I'm not going to name names, but we're feuding with a couple podcasts right now, and they are beating us in the iTunes review game.
We want to be listed higher in iTunes. So please leave us a review. I don't care if it's good. I don't care if it's bad. Just leave us a review. All right. JP, anything else?
Other than they should email us at swdog77@gmail.com or tweet us at swdog77. Always a little bit questionable. I can't ever remember what that handle was.
Trying to remember that one more. And like us on Facebook. Facebook/SWDOG.
Wherever Facebooks are sold.
All right, folks. Until then,
may the force be with you.
So there's a lot of episode 7 rumors out there lately. All of it, I feel like stuff we've all heard before.
Yeah.
Like, are they just like recycling rumors now because they have nothing else to go on?
Or are we just so synced with the production that like we no longer?
I don't know.
Like, whereas like of course that would happen.
Yeah. No, I think they're just repeating stories. They're like, oh well, Luke's whereabouts are going to be blah blah blah. I'm like, I heard that.
Yeah,
already.
the one that broke the other day was there's a spin-off movie about focusing on Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they attached an interview to it that I think Ewan McGregor gave when The Impossible was coming out.
Nice.
Like,
well, you know.
Slash film is the worst about this.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of news being recycled, or rumors being recycled about Star Wars Episode 7. We did see a couple new things, I guess. Some blurry aerial photos of the Millennium Falcon and what looks to be the new X-Wing fighter kind of docked at a...
Both non-starters
bay.
For me. Saw a better
Yeah.
picture of the X-Wing already, and
Yeah.
the Millennium Falcon, it's like, well, that looks about like half the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, it's not a full prop. It's just the...
Couldn't tell any differences.
Yeah, right.
It looked the same to me.
But at the same set, now we're seeing some extras wandering around in Star Wars garb.
Now that got me excited.
Yeah. So some of these extras might not actually be extras. We're seeing what appears to be a Adam Driver in a...
Wearing an X-Wing uniform.
The X-Wing fighter
jumpsuit?
pilot outfit.
Yes.
I'm going by merchandising again.
And what's exciting about that for me is that everyone keeps clamoring for him to be the villain, which I think I talked about this in another episode, is like, that seems so obvious to me. It's like,
Sure.
well, yeah, because he looks like a bad guy and plays kind of an asshole, and girls that like, yeah, make him the villain. Yeah, it makes sense. He's evil. But it's like, that's like the Lex Luthor thing of like, yeah, get the guy from Breaking Bad because he played a bald bad guy to play Lex Luthor. It's like, it's silly.
Well,
I think he'd be like a much better hero than villain. I think Oscar Isaacs would be a better villain.
sure. Not to rain on your parade, but we don't actually know if that's Adam
No.
Driver.
No, we
like
don't.
none of these pictures are actually definitive.
No.
Of
Or clear.
yeah, they're blurry. They're taken from a distance. Some of the costumes to me look a little ill-fitting. But the Adam Driver character, I mean, he's a tall guy. Looks like he has a mustache. Looks like he has, Adam Driver-esque hair.
I didn't see the mustache, but that's interesting.
Well, I mean, Adam Driver has kind of like a mustache goatee kind
I
of
guess
thing.
he kind of does. That's true. You're right.
But it looks like an Adam Driver-esque person,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
The other one we saw was
Gwendolyn
Christie.
Sure.
Is the woman from Game of Thrones, this tall blonde woman.
Yeah.
She seems to be in some type of drab garb,
Yeah.
Imperial maybe, or I don't
Yeah.
know. But she's
Imperial
with
/ bounty hunter.
yeah, of course. Right, / Jedi.
Yeah.
But she's standing around a couple other guys who are kind of in the same uniform, but they have hats on. She doesn't.
It didn't really look like a uniform even. It kind of just looked like shirt and pants.
Yeah, almost looks refugee like.
Those ones didn't
I don't
excite me so much as there was another set of 7 photos. I think you put it on our Facebook.
Yes.
Which if people like us on there, they can get access to all this great stuff you reblog.
know. Right.
But where it actually showed props in the background. It was like some kind of nondescript vehicle for cargo stuff.
Yeah, we get
And
to
it
see
looked
some
very Star
transports.
Wars-y.
Yeah,
Very Star
yeah,
Wars-y. I like
yeah.
that.
I think even the
Somebody had a hat that looked kind of like a Naboo hat, which I was kind
right,
of excited
right.
about.
I think even the location, I think they seem to be by some kind of hangars or something in real life.
Mhm.
The hangars to me look like they could be part of like Yavin.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
But who knows? We also saw some other
Or indoor, actually.
Well, we saw some
bunker.
other images. These are all kind of on makingstarwars.net, but also like signs that are actually saying like Endor set this way. Very obvious that it's like Endor is here.
Yeah.
And filming of Endor is this way.
And you would almost think that it was like, would a Hollywood actor like need to be told like, oh, I'm actually filming something for Endor today, or would they be
Right.
like scene 52?
Right.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
It seems almost like a goof that someone would put up.
Well, they're saying that like these are all like code names for actual settings, just so people don't it's going to be Endor. Well,
Oh,
no,
so
it's not.
Endor could be like the craft services table or something?
Or something like that. Yeah,
that's funny.
right.
That's funny. I like that idea.
The other rumor was that more confirmation that the Daisy Ridley character is going to be named Kira. That they saw like a trailer that had like Kira name on it, and again, this also feels very
spelled
recycled.
funky, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, well, some people are saying that her name isn't Kira; it's Kara with it Keria instead of Kira.
It'll have some funky.
Other ones are saying it's not. It's Sarah, Sera.
The K makes an S sound. I like
And
that.
the other one is like, no, it's Fawn. Like Fawn.
Spelled like Kira.
Yeah, spelled like Kira.
Star Wars.
Yeah. So what we're saying is these rumors, we still don't know anything. We're seeing blurry pictures of maybe cast members.
I'll be honest though, that blurry photo of like people wearing Star Wars gear and there's a Star Wars like thing in the background, that actually legitimately got me more excited than anything I've seen so far.
Sure. But
even that goofball photo of the cyborg holding Darth Vader's helm.
Yeah. We don't know.
I
don't.
In the lack of actual news, I've actually, I keep looking at some of this stuff and thinking about it. And we were talking about this online the other day about the idea that maybe, what if the beard that Mark Hamill's sporting is like all just
and he's not even in.
He's not even in it.
He's just hanging out at the set.
Yeah.
Let me.
Well,
in.
he's in the movie.
Oh.
He's in the movie, but voice acting. He's a voice actor.
Oh, I see.
And so they have a CGI Mark Hamill who's got a cyborg face.
Right.
Because why else would he hold that helm? Because it's his father. Think about it.
I like the
Very
idea
dramatic.
that he's not actually casting; he's just begging inside the studio.
Well, that's sad. That's sad. Ron. We don't ever wish that for Mark Hamill. Even though it might have already happened.
Yeah, so these are all rumors and speculation, but what isn't rumors and speculation? What's actually real and new that's going on in the Star
Hardcore
Wars
canon? Yeah.
universe is the novel
Yes.
we're reading.
A New Dawn.
A New Dawn, the first Star Wars novel that isn't a legend, but is actually part of the canon. We're both reading it, and we're both progressing through it, a little bit different paces, but
It's a fast read.
Yeah.
I've just been reading it when I'm like commuting on the bus or something, or like at lunch.
Right.
But
so you are about 14
chapters in,
All
I'd
right.
say, yeah.
All right. So spoilers.
I'm a third through, I guess.
As we always announce it about the 90-minute mark of our podcast.
Yeah.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, there's the spoiler warning the whole time. Didn't you notice?
So where are you at in the book, and how are you enjoying it?
Okay, so I will say this. I'm thoroughly enjoying the book. We had an early discussion about it, that it is a little funky that to read a Star Wars book and be like, well, it's not a legend. It's not something that George Lucas or someone can wash away. This really happened.
This was real happening.
Just like this.
Really happening. Yeah.
Like, that character said that line.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, that's weird. But
so far, no one has mentioned Hoth chocolate. So
no,
we're all
thank
that
God. But it is interesting though when the prologue you have Jedi training and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, so it happened like that. Like they actually met around that central computer and looked at it.
Right.
I was like, because I was trying to logistically, I was like, really, how many kids could you fit in that room? I was trying to think of that set in the movie.
So
all
right, go on.
now
I'm curious, having read through the book. Like,
I'm making notes throughout all of it.
Okay.
Like
I should be like, who is the? So basically, the younglings are sitting around, and Obi-Wan is teaching a class, and they're talking about like, if there's an emergency.
Yeah, if we need everybody here right now because people have invaded Coruscant before, and we need all our Jedi on Coruscant to defend you.
That there's going to be a beacon.
Yep.
Sent out to wherever the Jedi are out policing the universe, that they will receive this beacon to return home.
And so the beacon, which is interesting because I never really considered it that much in the books, is that something where it's kind of like a Force thing? It's kind of like a Force megaphone?
I don't know.
Because it feels like kind of a lightsaber technology where it borders the line between technology and Force stuff.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Because I didn't get the impression that it was like, it'll go on that, if you tune in to 95.5, you'll be able to hear the beacon. It's more of a, every Jedi will hear it.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
I'm reading into it.
Yeah. But So one of the younglings are questioning, like, well, what if we can't go home? What if the problem is on?
Yeah. Could you
home?
use it to keep people away?
Keep people away.
Why would we do that? For something unexpected.
Do we remember? You took notes.
Yes.
Do you remember who was the Jedi that was questioning that?
Yes.
Questioning Obi-Wan.
I do. I don't know. That's a lie. I don't remember, but his name is, I believe, like Caleb something. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So Caleb, this is the big spoiler that I was talking about last week that I didn't know if you had gotten to or not.
Right.
Caleb is if Caleb is the character that is questioning Obi-Wan at this very moment, we find out later in the book is actually Kanan.
Yep. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Kanan is obviously Kanan was a Jedi. He was a youngling. He was a Padawan. When Order 66 came about, and he ran and went into hiding and changed his name. So everything that we've been advertised as far as Star Wars Rebels and Kanan being one of the main characters. Obviously, Kanan is one of the main characters, but the lie is that Kanan is not his real name.
Right, yes. And what's interesting about this is it's a cool flip on everything else we've seen in Star Wars, where they go into some detail that he's spent his whole life since an adolescent, since, Order 66, hiding his Jedi training.
Yep.
Trying to suppress it. So as opposed to someone who's trying to learn how to be a Jedi, someone who's trying to not appear as Jedi at all because it's a death mark.
Yes.
Which is a pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty cool setup.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things thrown in that me and Ron will go through in detail someday.
Yeah.
But like little weird things like a little bar named Bogan, which is like, isn't Bogan, wasn't that
Bogan
one of the names
is one of the moons?
Force?
Yeah, it's the dark side of the Force.
Yeah, it was Bogan the Ashra?
There's Ashla and the Bogan.
Yeah. Also, there's a race of people who, one of them is a cook, four-armed, and that reminds me a lot.
No, there's at least three of them, and they're the Dexter. Right?
Yes, Dex, yes.
The
Rex
same
Dexter,
race. It's the same race. I looked them up as I was reading it. That race is the race that was from Dexter's Diner.
Yeah.
And Attack of the Clones. Apparently, they're good at being short order cooks.
Cooks and mercenaries.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the books so far is really good. I like the writing. It's all very fun. Hera is the Twi'lek who's running around. She's not been seen. We get a good menacing bad guy who's almost too bad, but we were talking about this. I think it's in a good way.
Well, I'm a little bit further along in the book. I'm almost done with it. I think I've got about maybe 50 pages left.
Okay.
I will not spoil anything. I will say that there's another big flip in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other characters that you are reading along aren't what they appear to be.
Interesting.
Yes.
We had a debate about if one character is actually a clone from a clone.
Yeah,
Clone
still
Wars.
has not been established if this character who fought in the Clone Wars is a Clone War is actually a clone himself. I don't believe he is, but I don't know.
My thing with that was that if he is a clone, that breaks down because everyone should know that face.
Right.
Because we've established his newscasts and everything else in this universe. So.
Right. Well, so the basic plot here is they are all the central characters of this book are around this mining planet. They are mining this substance called thoriolide.
Plutonium.
No, it starts with a T. No, it's not plutonium.
It said plutonium.
Just got it. Thoriolide. So the Imperials, the evil empire, is trying to mine this substance faster and more efficiently.
Just basically strip mine it.
Yeah.
They need to get all of it as quick as possible.
Yeah. I'll try not to go too far ahead into the book with you, but basically there's shadows of, well, how do we destroy a planet efficiently.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And because this happens before A New Hope, they don't have that big space station that can do that.
Even though we see those plans at the end of
right. Well, it's in progress. But yeah, so the gist of the book is like they're going to probably try to blow up a planet without having that technology to do so.
And I think we'll both have this book finished here in the next week or two and be able to do a full
dive
rundown
into it
on
a little bit quicker. Yeah.
But so far for me overall. Solid. Weird transitions though between the only critique I have is that there are some weird transitions where it'll suddenly switch from the point of view of whatever character we're talking about to Hera.
Yeah.
And I'm always thrown off.
Oh, okay.
Like where it's like suddenly like in the middle of a chapter it's like, so and so sits down and thinks this to herself. Hera was wondering, like it's just
right. My only critique of it is it seems a little bit more serious than the actual show is going to be, but I think that's just the nature of novels as opposed to a cartoon series.
We talked offline about this, about the idea that it was, if the stormtroopers are Nazis, like, I was like, well, you gotta kind of show that they're a serious threat early on.
Yeah.
And your thing was like, I kind of want my stormtroopers to be more like, if they're going to be Nazis, they're going to be like Hogan's Heroes Nazis.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, agreed.
Right. Agreed.
And I think that's kind of where we get when A New Hope. They've been around for like 15 years or something.
Yeah.
In this, they're still fresh. So when it first happens, it's pretty horrible. But if they would have been around for 14 years, eventually maybe had more funny comical Nazis.
Right. But I mean, even like I think in the previews that we've seen for the show. Mm-hmm. The protagonists are kind of, they're not as afraid of the stormtroopers. Right. You see like them calling them bucket heads and stealing their helmets, and in the book, like there's no real kidding around. When the stormtroopers come up, when they show up, it's just fear.
Well, I mean, they're also still fresh, and by that point, maybe they've also realized what bad shots they are.
Right. We haven't really seen a lot of shooting from the stormtroopers yet, in the book at least.
So, good new Star Wars, good Star Wars, better than much better than Son of Dathomir.
Yeah.
Although, still hoping the Darth Maul show up. And
right. I think, I'll say this.
Yeah.
About, like I said, about 50 pages from the end.
Mm-hmm.
No idea where it's going to end. No idea. So that's good. It's not like it's predictable. I'm like, oh, well, I have no idea how this is going to end up.
I agree.
Basically, because I have no idea where the series is going to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so far, it feels Star Wars. Feels good.
Feels good. Yep.
All right. I'll recommend so far.
Me too. Yeah. Pick up Star Wars: A New Dawn
by Jackson. Jim. I just put the book away. Jackson Miller.
No, he's written a few other Star Wars books, but he is.
It's flying on the radar right now. His name is. That's right. John Jackson Miller.
There you go. John Jackson Miller. A New Dawn by Del Rey Books.
There it is.
All right, folks. That is it for now. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, that's